So, Sarah, thank you for joining us. And today we are talking about what it is to be transgender. So, can you walk us through let's just break down what it is to be transgender, what it really means, like for the people who are listening, for people who are looking at us, we want them to know what it really is.
Okay, transgender is basically so you mainly have two gender identities. One is male and the other one is female. We have an assigned sex, which is male or female, but in our minds, we also have something called as a gender, and that is something very psychological. So a gender can also be male or female, masculine or feminine. So most of the times, both of them match, which means that your
Mhm.
sex matches your gender. But in very few cases, maybe 0.1% or point, I think it's 0.01%, there's a chance that they do not match, and in which case you become transgender because psychologically you have the mind of a woman, but physically you have the traits of a male. And this can also happen in the other way. Like you can psychologically be a man, but you might have the physical traits of a woman. So this is basically transgender. So in my case, this was the case. Yeah, this is basically transgender.
Got it. Thank you so much, because I think it's very important to exactly explain what it really means, because we can all Google it, but to actually hear it from somebody who's, living their truth, it's always important to know. So, how old were you when you knew that there was something different about you?
I was my earliest memories were that I wanted to be a girl. I experienced myself as a girl. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember I would tell my mom, Mommy, I want to be a girl. And I would ask them for toys which is associated with the more feminine gender. So I would play with dolls and stuff like that. And most of my friends in school were girls. And, not just physically, I wanted to be a girl, but also in the way of living, I wanted to be a girl. And my very first memories, you can say my earliest memories are from the age of 4 or 5 years old. And that is when I wanted to be a girl. I would, like sometimes I would see my mom and I would like hide my penis and I would pretend like my penis doesn't exist. And um, yeah, I would do all sorts of things to like affirm my gender, but it wasn't possible at that time.
Mm. So, I mean, I'm just trying to imagine this. So you are 4 years old, and your name was Akash back then, and you
Yes.
are anatomically a boy, and but psychologically you are a girl. So you're in this mental space, right? And you're trying to get tell your mom that I want to get play with dolls, and um you don't want to be seeing your penis as well. So what was that like for you when you were in school, where you are surrounded by other girls who you really, as who you are, and you also have, boys in school who you're not able to associate with? So what is that journey like, even when you are very young, because you already know that the body you're in is not the body you're supposed to be in?
I was very confused. I was like, why is this happened to me? Like, why am I like this? And I used to hate myself. I was like, why am I born like this? Like, and I would feel jealous of the other girls that they get to wear dresses and they get to have long hair, and I had to cut my hair. So there was a lot of jealousy there, and um, I also felt that being like you see in school, generally girls are friends with other girls and boys are friends with other boys. That's how it starts out. So I wanted to be friends with other girls, and the other boys would find that strange. They would find it strange that I don't like to mix up with them, and
Mm.
they used to be quite aggressive towards me, and I did face a lot of bullying during my school time, and also I would say that time of my life, because I didn't know what I was. All I knew was I wanted to be a girl. I didn't know there's something called transgender. So it was very traumatizing for me, and um, this trauma has stayed with me for a very long time. It has shaped my entire life, you know.
Mm.
So I can now see that all those, you know, those things that I experienced, those, yeah, you can almost say traumatic experiences. They kind of shaped my life, and they made it something that was very bad, you know, because of which I've had very bad experiences. And so I would say my childhood was pretty bad now that I look back. And
Mm.
at some point, I realized, okay, that a lot of people were bullying and being not nice to me. So I tried to change myself, and like try to change my personality, the way I behave. I try to behave more masculine. But you know, when you do something that you don't want to, it takes an emotional toll on you. And that emotional toll I went through. And nobody realized this because they were just seeing this person who is behaving like a male, but they did not realize what was going through my mind, that I was actually playing a game.
Mm.
And so basically, my whole childhood was, the beginning of it was a bit of playing, like not understanding how it is to behave in front of people. And I would behave like a girl, and then I got bullied. So I changed myself. Then I had to be a fake person. So that was basically my childhood.
So when you say that you were actually role playing, right? You're pretending to be a boy.
Yeah.
So in a way. So what does that mean? Like, how do you change your behavior, your thoughts, your actions, your interactions with people? Because in this point you're acting, right? And for a child, that's you have no reference. So how are you acting it out? Like,
It was basically trial and error. I would basically look at my male peers, and I would see how they behave, what things they like to do. For example, they like sports. I did not like sports, so I would pretend that I like sports, and I would have a short haircut. At some point, yeah. So I would have a short haircut. This is how I was in school. I would have a short haircut, and then mm, I would walk in a more masculine way. But this was all much later. My earlier childhood, I did not know how to act. I learned it over a period of many years. And when I reached the age of 15, 16, 17, when I reached the age of 17, I had mastered this art of acting, you know, being like walking like a man. And even though I did not like it. And yeah, so that's how it happened. And it was trial and error. I would do things that other boys do, and
mhm,
sometimes I would make mistakes, and people would catch me. Like sometimes I
mm.
would be like, "Hi," and then somebody would be like, "ये क्या कर रहा है तू?" And then
A dead giveaway.
I'd be like, "Hi," and then they'd be like, "ये क्या कर रहा है तू? लड़की है क्या?" So then I would be like, "Bye," and then I'd be like, "Bye," and then so I learned it by trial and error, and then slowly I mastered it. I mastered this whole art, and I became a
Mhm.
pretty good actor, because there was a point where nobody knew that I was trans.
Well,
And then the
mhm,
bullying stopped. At some point, the
mm.
bullying stopped because I was acting so well. The bullying stopped. I started making friends. I started having a normal life. So,
Wow. Yeah, I do want to talk a little bit about your teen years, but before that, like you said, when you were much younger, and when you have no idea that you have to pretend to be something that you're not. So at that point of time, let's say, between the age of 4 to 13, 14, right? When you're innocent and new to the world, did you also face a lot of reactions and maybe taunts and bullying from people in your extended families, your cousins, or was it just your school and school friends?
It was just my school friends. I didn't face any trouble from my family. My family was very tolerant. Like I used to like wear girls' clothes at home. My mom used to buy me girls' clothes because she knew I like it. My
Wow.
dad used to buy me dolls. Yeah, my dad used to buy me dolls. So my parents were very tolerant, and then I guess my parents knew at an early age that I was trans. I guess my parents knew it. My mom, she told me that she kind of knew something was different about me. I didn't face any problem at home. Uh, and then relatives, I did not have any relatives because my like our dads, like we are from the army background and we keep moving around. You don't have much interaction with your family. So my family was very distant from me, and it was only school. It was only from school that I faced all the hostility from.
Hmm. So let's talk about your teen years a little, when you mastered the art of being a boy, right? So teen years are hard for us as it is, right? Even when you are in the body you're supposed to be in, it's changing so quickly. You have hormones, and it's crazy, right? And you're attracted to other people, and so I'm thinking that it's hard enough when you already are in the body where you feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. And help us understand how challenging it must have been for you to see this body that you're in, that you don't belong in, and to watch it, hit puberty. Whereas psychologically, you're a girl. So, and how did that affect, obviously, mentally, how you were, and also in terms of who you might have been attracted to at that point?
Yeah. So Nishka, yeah. So I one is of course my gender was non-conforming. Also, my sexuality was non-conforming because I was attracted to boys. I was
Right.
attracted to men, and but that doesn't mean I was gay. Like I was basically a girl trapped in a man's body who was attracted to men. And I did not even understand this properly because I had to hide this as well. I had to also hide my sexuality. So it was very difficult. People would also call me gay, chakka. They would say, they would use all kinds of words. I remember once I walked into a class and everybody was calling me gay, and they were shouting gay, 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 gay. And it was so bad. Like I remember my forehead went completely cold. I was like, what do I do? Everybody knows my secret. And then I just hid my face and I just went and I sat in my bench and I just covered myself. And everybody was shouting gay. And I think you were not in my class at that time, Nichka. And yeah, so it was pretty bad. I think the time of around between 8th standard to 10th standard was the worst time for me because we hit puberty
Yeah.
and we all become sexual, and then sexually I was different from others, so that affected me a lot. And yeah, so I was playing two games at a time. I also had to pretend that I like girls,
Yeah.
and then I would fake girlfriends. I would say she's my girlfriend, and then I would say that I like this girl. I have a crush on this girl, even though I had crushes on boys. So I had to
Right.
fake that as well. And yeah, now that I think of it, it was like such a difficult time. I can't believe I came through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question about that actually. So you said that around that time, as Nishka and both of you pointed out, that that's when we start getting attracted to the opposite sex or the opposite gender. And I'm so sorry if I'm going to interchange those words with the questions. Did you ever, at that time, as you said, when you started mastering the act of being able to act like a boy, did you ever consider dating a girl as well? Like, because suddenly you had better acceptance, and as you said a little earlier, you were easier making friends. So, did you think that, okay, maybe if life is easier this way, then maybe I should conform to it? Did that happen sometime in high school?
I think that did not happen. Thankfully, it did not happen. It happens to a lot of people, but
Yeah.
it did not happen in my case because my parents were like an oasis. When I would go back home, I could be myself, and my parents were very caring, very empathetic parents. I could be
Okay.
feminine around them. So they gave me that feeling that it's okay to be like this, you know? It's okay to be
Mm-hmm.
trans, and it's okay to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And then I knew that my peers in school, they were wrong. I knew that they were wrong. So that's
Okay.
why I did not want to conform to them. A lot of people who conform are the ones who go through self hatred. They think something
Mm-hmm.
is wrong with them, so they try to conform to the society's norms. But in my
Mm-hmm.
case, I never thought something was wrong with me. So
Yeah.
I never had to like have a fake girlfriend and like lead a fake life. Okay, I would tell lies, but I wouldn't live a life where I have a girlfriend and I have to pretend having a girlfriend and stuff like that. And one more thing, Anishka, like you told me about puberty, this reminded me. Puberty was a very, very tough time for me because that's when testosterone hit my body.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
before puberty, I was feminine. I was always very feminine looking. Like I don't have very big shoulders, and like my face was not very like my jaw and all of that was not very masculine. So so before testosterone, I was looking almost like a girl. Like if I go home and I wear a wig, I would look like a girl. But after hitting puberty, my body started changing, and that was like I was like, what is happening? Like it's changing, and I'm becoming something I don't want to be. I started getting facial hair, and my the shape of my face started changing. My body became more muscular. And that was something that really, really bothered me. You know, I felt like ripping out my facial hair. I was like, I just used to feel like just ripping it out. And I was like, what is happening? And that was a very, very tough time. I'm so happy it's over.
Yeah.
If I may, then just kind of reiterate over here. So, for all intents and purposes, physically, so that's including your physical manifestations outwardly, but also hormonally inside. As a transgender woman, everything physically is male, so to speak. It's mentally that you identify as a more feminine identity, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to reiterate that again. And therefore, since we're talking about that, would you like to take us through what gender dysphoria is then?
So, gender dysphoria is what makes a trans person a trans person. It's the root cause that causes them to go through depression, anxiety. So I had to go through depression, anxiety. It's comorbid with depression and anxiety, and it's what makes a person trans. So it gender dysphoria is what causes you to feel not aligned with your physical sex, and
Okay.
it feels very similar to being trapped in the wrong body. You know, like, and it also feels similar to being denied to do a lot of things that you would otherwise want to do. Like, it's not just feeling trapped in the wrong body, like, okay, I have facial hair, which I don't want. So for you, if you want to imagine it, just imagine like you wake up as a man and you have this. I don't know if you can even imagine it. It's a very horrible feeling. Like
Yeah.
you're not having soft skin, you're having facial hair, you're having the wrong genitals, And I don't know how you can imagine this, but yeah, maybe you can. And on another level, it's also the way you live. So you're being denied to do a lot of things other girls would be able to do. Like you can't wear a dress, you
Hmm.
can't wear pink, you know, you can't. I mean, of course, I know gender stereotypes are not good; they're very bad. But on
But
some level, there is like on an average level, girls do like to be more feminine, and you're denied to be more feminine. And like for example, if you're a woman, like a guy opens the door for you, but if you're transgender and if you're born as a man, nobody's going to open the door for you. And so these are the small things that you're denied, and
hmm.
it also takes an emotional toll on you.
Hmm. About that, just to understand dysphoria a little bit more in terms of emotionally, physically, but also sexually. So I understand, therefore, that, for all intents and purposes, you are straight because you are feminine and you're attracted to men, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, how does your body physically react to that then? So, because when we're attracted to someone, there are physical giveaways that we have, and you spoke about how when you have the wrong genitals as well. How do those reactions then work for you? And do they also, is it tougher to then comprehend that as well? Because what you're sexually feeling on a mental level is very different from how your body is reacting physically.
Yeah, there are some things that I would never know how it feels. Like, I don't have the genitals of a woman, so I will never know how it is to be aroused as a woman, or to have sex or enjoy sex as a woman. I wouldn't know that. So that's something I have to live with. Like that's something I cannot experience, and maybe at a later point when I get an operation, which is a long procedure. After the operation, yes, I can experience that. But to be honest, there are some things that I can never do. Like I can never have the pleasure of conceiving a child, of being pregnant, of doing of having that, even though I want that. But yeah, there are some things. It's like sometimes like what can I say? Like sometimes nature fucks up, and you just need to live with it. Like
Yeah, that's a very
Yeah.
succinctly put.
even nature makes mistakes. So finally, it's all DNA, it's all a lot of random chemical reactions. And what
Mhm.
happens as an outcome of these chemical reactions is something you don't know. Like most of the times, yes, you know it, but sometimes you just don't know. You just got to live with it.
Hmm.
But
About that, sorry, continue.
yeah, but like now that I'm on estrogen, I kind of feel how a real woman might feel when she's attracted to a man. I have the same kind of like I've spoken to other girls and other women. So I kind of now know that it's kind of same what I feel and what they feel. So
Mm-hmm.
on an emotional and psychological level, it's the same. But on a physical level, it's not the same.
Hmm.
Hmm. Okay. So, since you bring that up, um, would you be comfortable discussing your age? Is that all right?
Yeah, I'm 29.
29. And so, at what point did you decide to,
I'm going to
because you
be
just
30. I'm
mentioned,
going to be 30. Like I'm about to be 30. I'm 30, you can say.
okay, so you just mentioned that you're an estrogen. So, at what stage or at what time did you decide to start making the physical transition? How did that happen? When did that happen? Can you take us through that?
Okay, Malaika, this question is so good. Like, to be honest, for a long time, I did not know such a thing was possible. Maybe till the age of 12 or 13, I did not know. And then suddenly we had internet and we had all these
Yeah.
people. And then around the age of 17 is when I realized that you have hormone therapy, and I heard of other girls taking it. And I wanted to take it. Like the moment I knew that such a thing exists, I wanted to take it right then, but
Mm.
it wasn't possible because the kind of friends I had, the kind of social setting I was in, it wasn't possible for me to transition back then. I did not have, like, I was not financially independent. I was still dependent on my parents. So at that point, it was not possible. I did not know how my parents will react. So I had to wait till the right time. And then finally, now everything fell into place. I finally finished my studies, which took a very, very long time. And then I started working, and that's when I started my transitioning. But if I had a
Okay.
choice, I would have started it 12
Much
years
earlier.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, 12 years back.
So, as a follow-up to that, then, and because I understand you are in Berlin right now, um, do you think it's also easier to have made this transition being in, I really do want to say this, but not being in India and therefore being in a slightly more developed or forward society, or are there still, similarities in how society reacts even in Berlin? Can you take us through the difference of that?
Yeah, that was definitely a reason why I transitioned. I was privileged enough to, I think of it as a privilege. Like I was privileged enough to like come to a place like Germany where I could. But if I was in India, I could not have, because
Okay.
we know how the trans people in India are treated, right? Like
Yeah.
Yes.
they are, they don't get jobs. They are limited to sex work, and it's very bad. I've met trans women in India. When I was in India, I used to meet them,
Mm.
and I know how bad their plight is like. So I would never have transitioned if I was in India. I would have probably killed myself, because on one hand I cannot transition, and on the other hand I cannot live the way I am. So I
True.
would have probably killed myself. But being in Berlin, it was a big stroke of luck, a big stroke of privilege that I could come here and I could start transitioning. It was a huge luck. Like,
Yeah.
God, I don't know what I would have done if I wasn't here. Like,
It's a
I just,
blessing. But
it's a blessing.
yeah.
Mm. I'm so sorry. Um, about that, when you did take the call, even after you did move to Germany, how was that conversation with I mean, from your story, we can understand that your parents have always been supportive. I understand you do have a sibling as well. So, how was that conversation with them? Was it important for you to, discuss it with them before you started your transition? Were they a part of it, or was it something that you just drove into? What was it like with your family, just your parents and your sibling?
Yeah, Malaika, I was so, so lucky that I have such a family, because they accepted me from day one. I came out to them about 1 year back, and they
Okay.
were very supportive. My brother, I also came out to him, and a very good friend of mine in Berlin who kind of helped me through my whole transition. So I came out to all these people, and my family took it very well. Like they even called me by my name, Sara. In fact, they gave me my name, Sara. Uh,
No way.
Mom thought of my new name, and my brother, like he has been so supportive. Like I've been just so lucky. Like
Is he a younger brother or an older brother, if I
he's
may
an
ask?
older brother. He's an older brother.
All right.
I just want to take a moment and just I'm so overwhelmed. I'm sure Mel is too. I can see her face.
Yeah.
Um, your parents, they're true parents, so to speak. We have parents in India who don't even accept their kids doing something simple like marrying the person of their choice, something so basic. And here are your parents who um, accepted you as a kid. They knew who you were as a kid, and they also gave you your new name, which is just it's amazing.
It's amazing, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I'm just so
it's
lucky. Like
I'm getting yeah, it's amazing.
That
Yeah.
is actually, yeah. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit now that we know that your parents were on board, financially and just medically speaking. Then, um, Sorry. So, okay. So in Berlin, I'm assuming then, first of all, it's easier to, go through the process of it. As you said, in India, there's probably almost no chance that you would have taken this step. Financially speaking as well, is it something that, despite your privilege that you have, is something that you really need to consider if you can afford, or once you make the mental decision or the emotional decision that this is something that you want to do, and you have the means to do it in terms of being in a country where it's not questioned, because you spoke about financial independence, so is that also something that plays into taking this decision?
Yeah, so I am, yeah, that does come into play because my hormones are paid. Like in Germany, it's really good because transgenderism is seen as it's seen as a condition which causes a person distress. So that's why the health insurance pays for most of it. So they
Oh,
pay for my
Wow.
hormones. It's treated as a kind of an illness. Like for example, if you have a broken hand, the
Yeah,
insurance would pay for it because you've got hurt. So if you suffer from
yeah.
gender dysphoria, it's a condition that causes you distress, it makes you depressed, it causes you anxiety. So it has a treatment, and the treatment is the hormone therapy. So that's paid for by my health insurance, which is great. And
yeah.
I do have to pay for the health insurance, also pays for everything else, but that's a very long process. They also pay for
Mm,
your laser hair removal and for the operation that you have at the end, the sex
mm,
reassignment therapy, that is also paid for by the health insurance. So I will go through the process and I will get that done with my
mm,
health
Yeah.
insurance. For hair removal, I am doing it by myself. I'm paying from my pocket, and because I wanted to get it done quicker. So now almost my hair is almost gone, and which is great. Uh, I still have to get one more surgery done, which is facial feminization surgery. It's
Okay.
basically it basically makes you look like how you would look like if you were born as a girl.
mm,
So, for example, like I don't have too many masculine features, but I do have a slightly masculine chin, and my hairline is like it's a bit masculine. So these
mm.
are two things I want to get changed so that my face
Okay.
looks more feminine. And this is not paid for by the health insurance, but I have to pay it by myself. I don't have the resources for it yet. It's a very expensive surgery, so I have to take a loan or I have to save up money and do it somehow. But
Mm.
yeah, I'm not dependent on my family for money, and also they are
Mm.
not in a position to help me. Like they are in India, I'm in Europe, and it's so
Yeah.
expensive for them to like you convert everything to euros. It's so expensive, so they are not in a position to help me either. So I have
Mm-hmm.
to basically find the finances and do it. But it'll take time. It'll take another
Mm-hmm.
2 years till I'm transitioned completely. It's a long
Yeah.
process. You have to be patient.
I have one last question before we dive into the next segment for this. In terms of employability, because I did have a friend who was transgender, and he started realizing that he wants to identify more as a she very actively when we were in college. And one of the biggest factors that was stopping her at the time was employability. Um, and is that something that is, I mean, I definitely understand it's difficult in India, but is that a factor when you go in for employment where you are right now in Germany? Was that something that you had to battle on some level? I'm not talking about, work culture and whether your colleagues are able to, accept or understand. I'm just talking about employability.
Yeah, I was lucky. Of course, it can be a problem. Even in a place like Germany, it can be a big challenge to be employed as a trans
Mm-hmm.
person. Like, it's not as bad as India, but it's good enough. But I was lucky because I started my job right at the beginning of my transition. So my
Okay.
employer didn't know I was trans, and my
Okay.
employer just thought I was a feminine gay guy. And Then at some point I started looking different, and then I was like, at some point it reached a level where I looked like a completely different person than in my interview, so I had to come out. But then by then I had already finished my probation. So
Okay.
no, I was almost coming to the end of my probation, so I came out,
Oh, nice.
and but then I was very scared that okay, they might find some reason to um, throw me out. I was very scared, and then I was like, I wasn't even able to work because of that for a long time. And in fact, even now I'm scared. Maybe it's irrational fear. Maybe it's not like maybe I don't have any threat in terms of being employed, but I feel that like I always feel that people hate me and they might try to harm me in some way. So it's all in my mind. I hope it's all in my mind, but I'm still
Mm.
scared that I'll lose my job.
Oh,
In a country where the chances would be low given how accepting they are. So
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how it is for people back home in India.
Yeah, it's so bad. Like a trans woman in India, she would have nothing, Mishka. Like
Yeah.
I'm so privileged. Like she would have nothing. Like it really bothers me a lot. Like that people have to go through this. I know some trans women in India. I met some of them. They were sex workers, and they would get 50 rupees for doing sex work, and
What?
they were living horrible lives. They were living like 10 people in one room, the size of the room that I have right here. And it was so bad. Like, it breaks my heart to know that people have it so much worse than me. Like, it's too much.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine how that is. So
yeah.
I think we can, I guess, empathize, but there's certain things that you just cannot imagine until they are your reality, and this is exactly one of those situations. So I want to talk a little bit about how you came out to the world on Facebook. That's how I found out, and that's how everybody else on Facebook found out. And so I want to know what your thought process was when you decided to get onto Facebook and put a beautiful picture of yourself out there and tell the world, like, you know what, hey, this is who I am. And Facebook has anybody and everybody we've ever met in life, right? Our school friends, college friends, teachers, strangers sometimes, and of course, family, relatives, and everybody else. So, why did you choose Facebook as a medium and not, maybe privately message everybody in your life who you're close to, or just, clear out all your social media handles, just start living your new life?
Yeah. So, Nishka, my main thing was that I wanted to tell everybody, and I wanted it to be very. I did not have the guts to go up to a person and have a private conversation and tell them that, yeah, I'm trans, because then I have to deal with them rejecting me or them saying something hurtful to me. So I wanted a one-way broadcast, and so I just put it out there, and I was like, and then I knew that if somebody is not interested in me, then not accepting, then they would just like unfriend me or something.
Mm.
And that's what happened. Some people unfriended. Most people did not. A lot of people did not. All the people that I know, my closest friends and um, the people that really matter to me, none of them said anything bad to me. And I just wanted an easy and one way broadcast, and Facebook was the best way. And I wanted to tell everyone because I did not want to have to deal with the stress of ओ इसको पता चल जाएगा, उसको पता चल जाएगा,
Hmm.
क्या
Hmm.
होगा.
Hmm.
I just wanted to be completely free of that. Like, it's okay. Like, you don't like me, just unfriend me or just get out of my life. But everybody needs to know this. And another part of it was to also send a message, because
Hmm.
there are not many trans people out there. And when people, if like when I came out, maybe one of my friends was transphobic, and he saw my post and he was like, hey, Akash is trans, so maybe it's not such a bad thing. I know that person. So it was also a way to send a message to people to say that it's okay to be trans. Even one of your friends can be trans. So it was
Is
also to send a message.
is that why you chose Facebook? I think because that's very important to kind of tell people that somebody that you know is transgender. So it's not
Yeah.
like it's something that happens to other people or something that's removed from
Yeah.
your life,
Yeah.
right?
Like just like being gay, being
Yeah.
trans also is something similar, because the more people you know who are gay and trans, the more accepting you become. And that's also a reason why I put it on Facebook.
Did you have a lot of people messaging you and asking you questions out of curiosity? Like,
Yes, they were not not asking questions out of curiosity. It was so heart melting, because nobody asked me any question and nobody put me in an uncomfortable position. Everybody was just very empathetic, and they were like, they sent me a lot of private messages, but they were mainly just saying things like, "We accept you and you'll always be like my friend," and basically just reaching out to me. But nobody asked me questions or put me in a spotlight or like do anything of that sort. So that was great.
did did this step in a way help you deal with everything that happened to you when you were much younger as well? Like all the trauma that built up, and to finally reach this point where you're 29 and you come out to the world. And I'm sure the people that were instrumental in also being bullies when you were in high school or when you were younger, they also must be on Facebook, right? In a way, was it in any way therapeutic?
It was Nishka, because um in fact, even some of my bullies reached out to me and they were like, "We accept you and you're very brave." But people change. Like, somebody who is a
Yeah.
bully at 13 years of age need not be a bully when he's an adult or she's an adult. And a lot of them realized what they did was wrong, and they reached out to me. A lot of my bullies reached out to me. Like, that's so strange.
That's amazing.
And that gave me a closure. It gave me a closure. One of my biggest bullies reached out
Mm.
to me, and that was like it was like a closing chapter. I was like, okay, I can now forget my traumas from school time.
Wow.
So I just closed the book and I just kept it, and I was like,
Like, there's nothing more beautiful in that, right? To bury your childhood traumas and for your bully to actually reach out to you in a positive way. It
yeah,
it
Yeah.
it happens so rarely. It almost doesn't happen, and it's such a beautiful thing that happened.
it was
So
great. And it also helped me get rid of my hatred from bullies,
yeah,
because I used to hate my bullies. I was like, yeah, उसकी जिंदगी नरक हो जाए. Like, I was wishing all the bad things for them, but now I don't.
Hmm.
Now I have
Hmm.
realized that bullies are probably, they have been through abuse themselves. Probably they had an
Yeah,
abusive childhood, they
yeah,
had abusive parents, and that's why they
yeah.
become bullies. But a lot of them change, and so it was very therapeutic for me.
That's
I love
wonderful,
it.
and it's yeah,
I love
it's
that.
so heartening.
Yeah.
Mm. Nice. So, um, what I do want to close this interview with was a question that Mel and I really like, and so, and I think it's very important, right? So, I'm just going to like go through your story. So you're young, you're trapped in the wrong body. As a teenager, you're acting like you're somebody you don't identify with. And in your 20s, you're dealing with the burdens of your childhood. But your parents are your, very rightly said, your oasis. And here you are today, turning 30, right? So, how did it feel when you left your house for the first time wearing a dress, flowers in your hair, and going out into the world loud and proud as being Sarah? How did that feel?
Oh my God, it was the most beautiful feeling, Nishka. Like, I love this question so much because I still remember the day I wore a dress and went out. And yeah, I wore a similar kind of dress. I wore a really short dress, and guys were
Oh.
and and weirdly, it was. I have to share this. It was so bad. Like, I know sexual assault is a very bad thing what women go through, and I had to go through this on the first day I decided to dress up as a woman. Somebody sexually assaulted me. Basically, a man hit me on my ass, and so that also took place on the first day. But um, in total, I would say it was the best day of my life. If this had not happened, I wish this assault had not happened, but without that, I think it was the best day of my life. Like, I was out with a friend who was also trans. We went out,
Oh.
had drinks together, and guys were coming and talking to us, and it was
Wow.
the best day. Like I was like walking in my dress.
I love this.
And
Love
the best thing was like I was looking at other women and other women were looking at me. And we had this kind
Oh.
of like this feminine connection. And then they would
Right.
smile at me and they would be like, other women have been very nice to me. Like they would look at me and they would be like, yeah, I know you were born as a man, but you are a woman and you're one of us. And that
this.
feeling I got from a lot of women. And that's also something I felt on the first day.
Hmm.
So yeah, the best day of my life. I can never ever forget that day. I wore a green dress that day.
Okay, we're gonna need pictures of this. So.
Yeah.
Ah, yes. Oh
I love this.
Yeah, I'm sure on the day you walked out and had this beautiful day with your friend, I'm sure the Akash of 4 years old could have never imagined this is going to happen. And it's such a beautiful thing to look back at your life and be like, I wish childhood Akash knew that Sarah's going to
my
have the
God.
best life.
Yeah. I wish
Yeah,
I wish
Yeah.
childhood Akash knew that one day she's gonna be Sara.
yeah, love it.
Just before we wrap up, actually, I know that was your last question, Nishka, but Sarah, I believe that you're starting or have started rather a YouTube channel which is going to be essentially vlogs from your life and your journey which you're going through now. Would you like to talk about that so that people who are interested can actually follow your story beyond just this conversation?
Yes, yes, I would love that. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So I have my own YouTube channel now. And wait, I want to just find out what's the name of my YouTube channel. Um,
I think it's Sarah Shankar.
Yeah, so it's Sara Shankar, SaraShankar. And please, whoever is watching this, please subscribe to my channel because there's a lot of content which will be out there. If you like today's episode, you will definitely like my YouTube channel. And right now, there's just an introduction video, but there will be more videos. And basically, imagine it as this whole episode. In different episodes and slightly more detailed. So do log into my channel and thank you so much.
Sounds good. We provide a link to your channel in our YouTube and on Instagram as well. So we got you.
Listeners, we're going to
Great.
Okay,
Okay, perfect.
perfect. It was lovely talking to you, Sarah. And yeah, I'm very excited for people to hear your story.
Yeah, and it was lovely talking to you, to Nishka and Malaika. Say your questions were so good, and they were literally spot on, and they kind of made me realize a lot of things that I hadn't thought by myself. So a lot of things about my childhood and my dysphoria are coming out now. So yeah, this question answer round has been great. Thank you so much.
Yay! Oh, I think we lost me. Okay. So have a beautiful weekend, and we will do this again in a few months, and we would love to have your parents next time as well.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Sarah, and have a beautiful weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Thanks.
Hey there! Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Raise the Brow. If you like what you heard, please share it with your friends. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and YouTube for all future episodes.